Hello everyone, I'm Captain Logan and welcome to the #1 show, my latest iteration of new comic reviews, and hopefully the last one for the foreseeable future. This is a really exciting new way to do this for me. I'm really thrilled about it, and I hope you will be too. What I'm going to be doing from now on, instead of new comic reviews or rapid fire, the way I used to do things, basically just reviewing my pull list. I used to even do like a top 5, which was still mostly my pull list. I found that wasn't really all that helpful for a lot of people, except for when I was reviewing new stuff, like brand new issues. When I was right in the middle of arcs of things, it made a lot more sense to wait and review those things in a vault altogether when you have the complete story. And, you know, what is the point of telling a person, hey, you know, go get Green Arrow number 20 on the stands right now? You're not really going to understand what's going on. Make sure you get the other issues before that. And basically, unless your pull list was exactly like mine, you'd be jumping around all over the place just to find the issues that you actually cared about that I was reviewing. And you might still find yourself doing that some anyway, but I think this is going to be a lot more helpful for people when they go to the store trying to decide what they want to get and what they might want to put on their pull list, or what they might want to wait for trade, or even, that doesn't sound all that interesting to me, I think I'll pass. So I'm going to start today with just 3, and as we go along, we're going to have weeks where there are all kinds of things. I'm starting with not a bunch of new books from one week, but rather one issue that I read from last week. Now, by the time this is posted, this will have been several weeks old, but I'm going to start with just one mainstream book and then a couple of really underground things that I have been meaning to review just to kind of get the ball rolling on this. And then after this, there will be several days in a row of #1 shows from weeks gone by. So look forward to that, and then at the end of the week, as I said, from when this is posted, you'll get to see #1s from the week that you're in, from this current week. So anyway, let me say thanks as always to Elite Comics in Overland Park, Kansas for helping me out with the show. If you're ever in the Kansas City area, check out Elite. They are absolutely fantastic. They do a lot for us. We sure appreciate them making these kinds of shows possible for us. We're going to start right now with my one, as I said, mainstream book for this episode. This is a Marvel book. This is Deadpool vs. Thanos #1. By the time this show comes out, the second issue will already be on the stands, and this is a premise that I don't know why we haven't done before. This makes so much sense, putting these characters in a book together and seeing them kind of hash it out, although the ending is sort of surprising of this first issue for the title, and really makes me wonder how exactly we're going to get to a place where these characters are actually at each other's throats, but I'm sure that will happen without too much delay. Anyway, this is, like I said, such a natural thing to do. Basically, real quick, let me mention who's involved in this book. This is written by Tim Seeley with art by Elmo Bondoc, and as I said, it makes a lot of sense. Basically what we're doing here is we're taking Thanos and Deadpool and we're having them fight over the literal personification of death, because both are death is very much intertwined with both of these characters, is a really important element to both of them. If you're unfamiliar, the literal personification of death is a lady skeleton, and she doesn't talk to Thanos, but she does talk to Deadpool, and in fact loves Deadpool and wants him to die, and is kind of waiting for him all the time. And Deadpool, of course, disturbingly worships death like Thanos does, but has a very different take on it. This is a conflicted character, especially, and a lot of my Deadpool knowledge comes from the classic Deadpool stuff, Joe Kelly, and so this is kind of where I come from. This is written in a lot more of course, the modern Deadpool style, where it's as much about, well, that stuff was as much about the humor too, but a little bit more grounded than this stuff is, and didn't have as much of the fourth wall breaking stuff. But anyway, so, you know, from reading that stuff, I saw I saw Deadpool as a really kind of conflicted character who wanted to be a hero, but didn't really understand what that means. He's kind of gone psychotic. All he really knows how to do is be a mercenary, and he just really likes death. He kind of can't help himself, and yet he also likes the idea of helping people all at the same time. He just doesn't know how to reconcile those things. And I think it's less wants to help people and more realizing that there are things that he'd like to get in relationships that he'd like to be able to perpetuate, be involved in, that he can't really do if he is going around killing everybody's best friends. And that kind of becomes a problem. And so Deadpool's power, I mean, he already had his healing factor, but his inability to die comes from Thanos. Thanos gives him this curse that makes it to where he's incapable of dying. And I like how this opens where he says, you know, that's a really great thing to have when you're a mercenary, but the problem is that I never get to see my would-be girlfriend, who is death. And so what ends up happening in this is we have this really interesting premise that gets us to a place where Deadpool no longer has his healing factor, or rather is able to die. I'm not sure if he has his healing factor or not. I guess he does. But he's gonna get to a place where he's able to die, and that's because of something that he does to Thanos. A confrontation they have when the exact opposite happens, which is Thanos kidnaps Death, because of course he's always trying to get Death to love him, and she has no interest in him. And I don't know, that's an interesting thing to explore and try to figure out why exactly that is. You know, Thanos worships Death, but he worships the end of all things, and Death isn't interested in the end right away of all things. She needs life to happen so that death can keep happening, and I think maybe that's kind of what it is. And so Deadpool is in a way kind of encapsulates that. He's sort of the personification of that, of people are born and then I go and kill them, and that's what she does. So they have, interestingly, kind of something in common. But anyway, so what ends up happening is because Thanos kidnaps Death, people are not able to die at all, and you have this kind of weird necromancer thing where the dead are rising from the grave, and if you kill a person, they just immediately come back to life. And as I said, that ends up leading to Deadpool losing his powers, but then or losing his ability to not die. And then at the end of this, there's a surprising reversal of all of that. I really enjoyed this, and I plan to continue reading this. This, of course, has some of your standard raunchy Deadpool stuff. It's not as gross and gratuitous as it sometimes can be. I found it, like Deadpool always is, and even I had this with the Joe Kelly stuff, hit and miss in the humor department. It's kind of going for a percentage where it's just throwing a lot of things at the wall and hoping it sticks, because Deadpool just never stops talking. You know, kind of like me. And so and so I'd say, I don't know, going for a percentage, about 75-80% of things I thought were funny, so that's not bad for me. Every now and again there would be something that was just kind of too corny for my taste, or just taking too long to get through a page. But as I always say, the nice thing about a Deadpool comic is that he talks so much that you kind of get quite a bit of bang for your buck, because even if not a whole lot of stories being told, it's going to take you a while to get through it. I also really liked the tongue-in-cheek way that it alludes to Battle World stuff while taking place before Secret Wars. This takes place right before Marvel Now, and we're told that at the beginning. But Doctor Doom is involved, and Doctor Doom is made quite hilarious in this, and it's kind of fun to see him in this more in this kind of a vulnerable situation where he's sort of played for laughs, and he's not turned into a joke where like he's characterized out of character, but just the situation he's put in, where a Deadpool, there's a scene where Deadpool tries to kill him, and he seems in that moment a lot more of a regular person. He puts his pants on one leg at a time, just like the rest of us, and that's kind of fun because at the time, especially when this issue was published. Doctor Doom is, of course, the ruler of the universe and the God Doom right now. So anyway, I really like this. A lot of fun, and I definitely recommend it if you are. Of course, if you're a Deadpool fan, it's a no-brainer. You should definitely pick this up. But if you like Thanos and you like the whole death thing, and if you're an Infinity Gauntlet person but you're not sure about Deadpool, I think you would enjoy things about this, even if the humor is not quite your cup of tea. Next up, I'm going to go to, as I said, a couple of really underground things, and the first one is a comic that I picked up at Kansas City Comic-Con this year from Jacob Bear. This is Batbear, and #1. This is kind of a parody of Batman that it reads very straight. It's kind of like Ninja Turtles in that way, where Ninja Turtles was a parody of a lot of gritty stuff, especially Frank Miller stuff going on when it was published, but it reads really straight. It takes itself seriously, even though the trappings are very absurd. And this has that in spades. As I said, this is written and drawn by Jacob Bear, and I like his art style a lot. I bought some prints from him at Kansas City Comic-Con, and he did some Tick stuff, and that's kind of what drew me to him. He had several prints of the Tick, and I bought all of them because I thought they were fantastic. And I was looking at his comics, and he had just published this, and so I couldn't help but take a look at it because it's a Batman parody thing, and I really liked his work, so I thought that I would check it out. This is the black and white version. There is a color version. I would recommend the color version, I think, over the black and white. I enjoyed it that way. As I said, that's the way I read it. And being a gritty street level looking thing, having a lot of callbacks to really various eras of Batman, but especially Frank Miller. And I think in the design of the suit and some of the poses, there's definitely some Jim Lee in there, and some other things. But as I said, you know, it's trying to look like traditional street level Batman. There's even some very clear homages to Bill Finger and early '40s stuff. But anyway, and so it looks good in black and white, but since it was clearly intended to be colored, it's not shaded in the way it would be if it was published only in black and white. So as I always say, I like to read black and white things where I'm not thinking about the color. I'm not thinking about or how it might be nice to have it in color. That's the intended presentation, and it reads that way. This does in places, but in other places there's just a little bit too much white space, and it'd be nice to see some more shadows and shading, but that's not as much of a problem, I don't think, with the color version. Anyway, so what we have here is a very familiar situation. It's basically Batman, but the origin is a little bit different, the situation's a little bit different. Instead of a kid whose parents get murdered, we've got a kid whose parents have died when he was a kid in a plane crash. Of course, anytime anybody's parents die in a plane crash, I immediately say, there's got to be some other explanation. We'll find out about it later on. Plane crash or car crash are the two top parent death situations that turn out retroactively to not be the case, and that there was some sort of conspiracy that led to their death. But anyway, that's not the thing that leads him to becoming Batbear. And this is, of course, by the way, a world of anthropomorphized animals who all live more or less harmoniously together, and there's a lot of different ones, but here mostly I see bears and cats. Yes, bears and cats, and that's about it so far, but I'm sure there will be other things as we move along. Anyway, so what ends up happening is he has an uncle, like Peter Parker, who gets killed, but his uncle raised him. But his uncle was a cop, and his death is indicative of the city going south. So this isn't a world where this version, it's not called Gotham, but this Gotham-esque city wasn't always like this. It has recently started to kind of go to the dogs, as it were, no pun intended, and now it has produced Batbear, who has decided to take it upon himself, of course, to become a vigilante and try to do the things that the police can't. And I think it's kind of interesting to have that sort of status quo where he grew up in a city that seemed more or less safe, and then it got worse off as he got older. And I also like the idea of having a superhero whose father figure was a police officer. So instead of having you know, your character that you work with that's a police officer, you have your catalyst for becoming a superhero, be a police officer. That person dies, and then you see the police department isn't working, and so clearly we need something more, and that makes it kind of believable that you would want to become something more than just than a cop, and somebody who works within the system. This is your very monosyllabic Batman type character. He doesn't talk a whole lot. He's very brutish. Again, the comedy kind of just comes from, it's a bear in a bat suit. It's kind of funny that he's an animal that's dressed as another animal. You kind of got to wonder if this is a world where only certain animals are anthropomorphized, and then the other animals in the world are just animals, like they are in ours. I just thought of that. I wonder if that's the case. You've got a character in here named the Jokester, so of course he's our Joker character, and I can't tell what kind of animal he is because he's got face paint and he looks like a clown. It's kind of a mystery, or at least I thought it was. I don't know. I don't know if it's intended to be clear, but it doesn't look like it to me. It's kind of a mystery as to what kind of animal he is, and he is a, you have this kind of backwards escalation thing where he is a psychopathic bad guy who just wants chaos like the Joker always does, and he's just been waiting for someone else on the other side to meet him on his stage of theatricality, and their banter is very classic. And by the way, the writing in this is really well written. It's it looks very professional, and it's fun. It looks good. My complaints about it so far, and of course it's just the first issue, and there will be more, are just simply right now I'm waiting for it to kind of go off on its own. It's got some stuff, like I said, with the origin that's very different from Batman that could be really interesting to look at later on. But as far as like parroting Batman, bringing in those elements, it's using the very broad, classic, obvious elements, and I'm kind of waiting for it to either create some of its own characters and some of its own ideas that really distinguish it from Batman, or to go for kind of go at the more specific stuff and throw more bones for fans that are big Batman fans and pick this up because they wanted to be rewarded for their Batman knowledge. Now, I don't know if that's ultimately what Jacob is going to be going for, but that's that, I don't know, that's it's a suggestion I might give him. Batbear needs somebody to talk to. Right now he's kind of just internal monologuing, and the monologuing is good, but he doesn't have anybody that knows his secret identity that he can talk to about things, and I think that we could really get into his head and flesh him out as more than just a Batman-esque character, or than just a Batman parody, but again, kind of separate him off and make him his own thing, like Ninja Turtles did. But anyway, overall, I like this. It definitely for the art, if nothing else. And again, the story's not bad, but there's a lot more stuff that could be done with it as it goes along. I think it's a good starting place. But the art is really cinematic looking. I think Bear has a really good, distinct look. It's very consistent all the way through, and I enjoyed all the street level stuff. I think it looks really good. Obviously, Jacob Bear's last name is Bear, and his studio is Bear Claw Studios. So he's really milking this bear thing, and I think it's a really fun idea, and I'm definitely interested to see where it goes moving forward. I'm also curious as to why Batbear has a red costume, and if that might factor in somehow to his characterization and personality as we move along. I definitely would recommend that as something a little bit different off the beaten path. You can get this at Jacob Bear's website, bearclawstudios.com, and it's available there for, I think, a digital download. download. Last thing I want to talk about is a new book from Alternate Comics. This is another independent kind of underground book called Bleen. This is available right now on Comixology, and you can get those issues pretty inexpensively. I think the first issue is still just $1. And this is drawn by Landon Huber, who drew Punctuation Men. And I gave that a rave review when somebody sent it to me in the mail for the for Mailbag Day. And I got to read the first issue, and I really liked it. It had really tick sensibilities, and it was really funny, but had this kind of edge to it, and this kind of sometimes sort of disturbing and strange artwork. And I was really excited to see more work from Landon Huber. And when I reviewed that, that had been done years and years ago. And when I reviewed it, I said I really wish that he would do another issue, because that ended on a cliffhanger. And he came back to me, and he made the second issue, and I've talked about that as well. And he said that my review had a lot to do with why he decided to finally go ahead and finish it. And man, that's be still my beating heart. That's so cool that I had any influence on that at all, because this guy is so incredibly talented, and I was really, really happy to see more work from him. He really didn't disappoint with that. This is a very different kind of book, although it still has that really quirky and strange kind of component to it, but it is more of a horror book, and it's less comedy, and as I said, it is quite disturbing. This is called Bleen, and it is written by John A. Kalunga, and like I said, art by Landon Huber. Excuse me. This is about a teenage girl who gets thrown in an insane asylum because she thinks that monsters are after her, and that they're coming to get her. And she has a pet rabbit, and if she is separated from this rabbit, these things are going to come and get her. And nobody believes her, of course, and it's hard to tell if what is going to, what she believes is coming after her is any more or less dangerous or terrifying than what she has to deal with in the insane asylum. This is, of course, one of these institutions that is not conducive at all to rehabilitation or to better mental health, and she is terrorized while she's there by some horrifying people that work there, and there's a lot of really scary nightmare imagery in this. It reminded me a lot of Tim Burton things, and I think it's very inspired by that kind of aesthetic, especially the stuff that Tim Burton's worked on that's animated. There's a lot of Corpse Bride and Nightmare Before Christmas here, but also it reminds me of Coraline, and it reminds me of course, Beetlejuice. And anyway, I don't want to say too much about it. It's one of those things that you kind of just got to look at for yourself. The art is absolutely breathtaking. It's brilliant, and like I said, it's creepy and it's disturbing and it's freaky. It's surreal. It's ultra detailed, and it looks just fantastic in black and white. It's a thing that does not need to be colored. I almost can't even imagine the thing in color. It's kind of about the black and white, and so it's very appropriate for it to look like that. And yet, it's hard to know while you're reading it who to believe about things, and that's the thing that I really like about it. That this girl seems really innocent and sweet, and yet there's something going on with her eyes, and it's hard to tell if what she's seeing that she thinks is coming after her is really there, or if it's just in her head. Maybe she needs to be in an institution. Certainly she doesn't need to be here, because it's not helpful. But maybe you can't believe her. There are 3 issues out. I'm just talking about the first one. I will certainly finish reading this, and when it's over, I may go ahead and take a look, or I may go ahead and do a comic vault on all of it. 3 issues out right now. I know this is a miniseries, and I haven't read the other 2 issues, so it might only be 3 issues. I'm actually not sure if there's any more that are supposed to be coming out, but I highly recommend this if you have kind of horror sensibilities, if you like things that are like off the beaten path like that, and you enjoy that kind of spine-tingling sensation while you're reading something. that it's just a little bit wrong. This is definitely for you. A lot of the writing, I think, is really good, although it's more, this is just a taste thing, it's more vulgar than I think it needs to be. I kind of think that the art, the art and the situation and the ideas really speak for themselves. I'm not sure that it needs all the profanity that's there, and again, that might just be a taste issue. I was sort of surprised by it, honestly, that it was there. It seemed like kind of overkill a little bit, but that's really my one complaint about it. I'm excited to continue reading it. I think it's a good idea. It's kind of a familiar idea, but it feels like making the old new again, and I think it's really kind of animated movie worthy. I really liked it. So anyway, that's going to be it for me today for the #1 show. Thanks very much for watching, and once again, if you're in the Kansas City area ever, be sure to check out Elite Comics in Overland Park. You will see lots more episodes this week of the #1 show, and then past this week, brand new episodes every week, covering as many #1s as I can get my hands on or have time to review, and I'll be telling you about brand new series that are starting and whether or not I think you should go pick them up at your comic shop or on Comixology. And in the meantime, I am Captain Logan.